Well guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back once again to another video. I thought it was time to get back out and do some street photography. I want to take advantage of the light that we're getting today. We're getting some glorious light, blue sky, and because we're heading into fall, you'll be able to see the trees behind us. We're starting to get that colour, so I'm excited for fall. But I thought in the meantime I wanted to do some street photography. We're getting towards those winter months, the sun gets a lot lower in the sky, you get longer silhouettes, those great shadows that we all like. And you can pretty much photograph all day because that sun isn't too high. Now I've also got a couple of things that I want to try out in today's video. I've purchased a couple of items since my last video. I've got the DJI Action 5 Pro, which I'm filming on now, and I've also got the DJI Mic 2s. Now the DJI Mic 2s is going to be great for my audio when I'm out, especially in the city and places like that where it's really noisy, because it's got 32-bit float. 32-bit float means my audio is going to be a lot more consistent, and it means I've got more flexibility when I come to edit and post. Now I already use 32-bit float with my A7R V and my A6600, and it works flawlessly. It really is. When it comes to the audio, it's going to be great for those winter months when it's wet. I'll be able to continue filming because it's fully waterproof, and it's just a bit more robust than my Pocket 2s. Now I've still got my Pocket 2s and I'll still use them. I can get away with doing a few more things on the Action 5 Pro, so I can really mix my video work up. I'm sure I'll be able to get a bit more creative, different styles of video, and that's what I'm always looking for. So I'm going to get back to my bag and get my camera, get out onto the street and see what we can capture. Now I've came across the first area here where I want to try and capture an image. You'll be able to see how I'm going to utilise this light. It's part of a hotel, and because the sun's a lot lower in the sky, it's just filtered in nicely, and that's what you find alleyways and anywhere like that in the city. You always get these nice pockets of light. It'd be nice if I got someone coming out the doorway there to the left hand side. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to shoot in a different direction, so I'm going to go to the end of this alleyway and shoot up the way, and that's going to change my perspective, change my composition, because you've got to be aware that that light's changing all the time along with the shadows, so it's going to give you totally different images. Now I think there's at least 2 or 3 images to be had, so I'm going to spend some time here and we'll see how I get on. Well, the city's definitely waking up now. It's getting a lot busier here in downtown. So I grabbed a couple of shots in there that I was really pleased with. And it was a good example and a good way of showing you how to utilise one area of light. That light's changing all the time along with the shadows. The shadows are a lot deeper now because we're getting closer to the winter months. So really take advantage of that. Now you've probably noticed I'm using a new bag today. I've moved away from the backpack. I found the backpack was a bit cumbersome. You had to take it off your back every time you wanted to access your camera. So what I've gone for now, I'm actually using the Filson Field bag, and it's great. It's a lot more versatile. I can access my camera really quickly by just swinging the bag round and getting my camera out. So it's a great new addition especially for my street photography. Just moving a bit further along here, and I've came across a scene that I find really interesting. Now, what piqued my interest first was obviously the direction of the light and the shadow on the ground here as I made my way around the corner. I've stood back and created a composition that I really like. We've got some buildings in the background, make for great subjects. Got a nice blank sky, there's no clouds in the sky, so it's nice and blank, so those buildings really stand out. And I'm also going to utilise the side of this building that's in front of us to frame the right hand side of the shot. And all I'm simply doing is waiting for the subject to walk along the sidewalk to add some interest to the image itself. When you're photographing people, try to photograph them in mid-stride. It gives your image direction, it adds motion, and it just makes for a better image. Now, my thoughts on the Action 5 Pro, what can I say, it's amazing. The dynamic range is unbelievable. I've got bright sunshine behind us, it's still exposing for my face. So it's going to be a great addition when I'm out doing videos. It's going to give us a different angle to go at. Everything's in focus behind us with the Action 5 Pro, whereas when I'm using the Pocket 2, everything's out of focus. Now, when it comes to the battery life, it's amazing. It really is in comparison to using my Pocket. The Pocket 2, it's a great camera to use for video work, but you don't get that long. You'd be lucky if I get half a day before I've got to recharge it or swap out the battery. So I'm just slowly making my way around downtown. Now, because it's early morning, I want to take advantage of that light. The sun's still pretty low in the sky, so it's reflecting. Like you can see behind us, it's reflecting down these alleyways. Now, this particular one I've been to a few times because it's great light and it changes all the time as that sun's moving. Now, the sun's gone behind that building there, but it's actually reflecting down off the glass buildings just in front of it, so it's creating some nice effects in here. Either direction that I shoot, I'm getting these lovely shapes. I'm getting some nice deep shadows there. So I'm going to stay here for about 10-15 minutes, see how this light changes, see if I get some interesting people either walking into the light or standing at the end of the light. And I'll use the buildings as framing. I've kept this area here, I've been here a few times, but we're getting some really nice light on the cafe behind us there, the coffee shop. So I want to utilise that light. That's what today's been about. It's been about utilising the shadows in those high contrast scenes. What I plan to do here, because of the way you've got the light on the door, you've got some light on the wall behind us there, and also some light to the right hand side. I'm simply going to wait for the subject, someone to walk along and capture them in that image. Now, I said before about exposing for your highlights, don't worry too much about your shadows. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to underexpose this shot. I'm shooting with the 35mm today in the Sony A7R V. I'm going to photograph it at f8, ISO 400. Now the reason being, I'm going to actually manual focus onto the sidewalk here to make sure the person in the shot is in sharp focus, because I'm pretty close with the 35mm to that sidewalk where people are passing through. It's going to be all about the light and the person walking into the shot. And getting down low is a good way of changing your perspective, and at the same time I can lose that distraction of the bright highlights that's going to be at the top of the image. So getting low down, that's simply going to be discarded. So you probably noticed in today's video I'm mainly concentrating on black and white. We've got lovely light today, we've got nice shadows. Now that's not to say I don't shoot colour. I shoot colour if I've got plenty of colour in the image, just like this alleyway that I'm walking down now. It makes for some great shots. Now it's pretty quiet at the moment, there's no one about, but I'm sure if I hung about long enough I'd capture a shot. Now on those dark, gloomy days when the weather's not great out on the streets and you're struggling for light, I tend to try and get close to interesting subjects. And I'm always looking for the most interesting people, so that's one thing to remember. Try and get people that look different, just like I did last week. I was out on the streets, the light wasn't great, so I decided to head into some of the shopping malls. Now I came across this old style punk. Now because he looked so different with the spiky haircut, the Dr. Martin boots and the 2 hands full of rings, I actually decided to go over and strike up a conversation with him. Now it turned out originally he was from the UK, so I ended up asking if I could take his image, and he was quite happily to allow us to do so. So firstly, the first thing that interested was his rings and his boots, so I focused on that for the first image. Then I got a bit further back and took his portrait, and he was a really pleasant guy and it was great to speak to him. So that's another thing to do when you're out. Don't be afraid to approach people if they grab your interest that much. Strike up a conversation and capture the shot. If you live in a big city and you've got tall buildings, head for the areas where it's really built up. That's why you often see me in this location to start with while the sun's low in the sky. It's leaving me with these areas of light to work with. I can go for silhouette of people passing through that light, or I can wait for people to walk towards that light so it lights the subject up. Remember, expose for your highlights, protect your highlights, and don't worry too much about your shadows. So I've came to this location here and we're getting some great light. Now what I was initially attracted to was the singular window there. It's very minimalistic. You know, you've got the shadows coming down the right hand side, the silhouette of the building opposite. So I think it really works just by itself. So what I've decided to do is I'm actually going to do both. I'm going to take one without a subject, and hopefully we'll get an interesting subject coming along, which I'm going to include. I'm just going to photograph it straight on with the 35mm f8, and I'm actually going to manual focus onto the sidewalk there, and that's going to make sure the subject's in focus and the background's in focus at f8. So it's just going to be a nice simple image, nice easy image, minimalistic, just with the window and the shadow, and then I'll include a subject. So let us know in the comments below which image you prefer the best. Still getting some great light, but I pretty much went full circle, and I've got a bag full of images that I was really pleased with. Now, as for the Action 5 Pro, I've really enjoyed using it. It's very versatile. I can see us doing a lot of things with this in the future when I'm out doing landscape photography, because I can mount it, it's waterproof, the battery's amazing, and also you've got the internal storage, so if my SD card ever fails or I forget to take it, I've always got that as backup, so that's brilliant. But I have decided to call it an end to today's video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been nice to get back out in the city and shoot some street photography. I always like to mix my videos up, whether it be landscape, abstract or street. And I think it's good for the channel to have variation rather than just doing the one genre. Now, if you're new to my channel and you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. As always, help with the algorithm, give the video a thumbs up, share it to other people and get my name out there. But for now, from here in downtown Vancouver, thanks once again for watching. Bye bye.